Oh, I dug out a magical piece of wood from the pile, and I'm going to show you what I did and how I did it. It's going to be a lot of fun, so let's hang out. I'm going to be starting this bowl today. The wood is called Boxelder, and it's a pretty cool piece of wood. It's got these unique pink and reddish tones as well as gray. That's all natural. I'm not sure what causes that. Uh, the colors were even more predominant when I got this about a year ago. I bought it as wet wood, and it was literally dripping when it arrived in the box. So I'm going to go ahead and start spinning this. If you watch, it's pretty out of round, so it's going to take me a minute just to get it all cleaned up, and then I'll start shaping it. I'll have you kind of pop back in every now and then and do some time lapse so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, this is more of a process video as it is a how-to. So enjoy, get some popcorn, and I think you'll have some fun. Well, I've got a nice shape to the wood, and see how the color has really popped? It's just fantastic. So with the shape, I wanted something fairly simple. I wanted the wood actually to be the feature and not the shape of the wood, if that makes sense. And what I did, because it was so out of round, I started off with a bowl gouge. There it is. And then I transitioned over to my carbide tip scraper. And the scraper, I'm doing some really fine work that gets it nice and smooth. Now I do have some tear out on the end grain, and that's kind of notorious with this wood. I've run Boxelder through the planer and have had tear out, so that's an issue. But it'll all sand out. That'll not be a problem. I have some cracks, excuse me, and the solution for that is I could use CA glue, but I'm actually going to use wood glue and sandpaper, and I'll show you that technique in just a little bit. But it's a great way to seal up some of these cracks and kind of make them just disappear. So there you have it. I need to sand the bottom, or not sand, but turn the bottom now, make it flat. And I'm either going to turn a mortise or a tenon. Haven't decided yet, but figure that out. And that way I can flip the bowl, mount it in a chuck, and then we'll take out the inside of the bowl. But I think it's going to be a beautiful bowl. So we'll keep moving. I've been working on this tear out with my carbide tip tool, and I'll show you how I'm doing it. It's very, very fine cuts. Here's what it looks like. I'm almost making just dust. I'll do this maybe 10 times. The whole idea is to take away that extra wood and get down into the tear out, smoothing it all out and not creating more tear out. So it's real fine motor skills. If I did this on a regular basis, I would be a much better bowl turner, but I do so many different things in the shop. There you go, just really fine stuff. Pretty cool. I'm liking how it's looking. Let's see if I can get a little more light in there. The color is really cool. Definitely like the streaks. Now I've got a little bit of fine tuning to do down here. There's a little end grain tear out. And if we go to the opposite side, that's actually looking pretty good. Got a tiny bit of work to do in here. So I'm really close. What I'm doing now is I'm using my big scraper, and it's been ground to a really fine edge. There we go. So I'm going to keep sharpening this like every couple of minutes. I want the just sharpest edge I can get, and I'm going to take just a hair off. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm making dust, not sawdust. So definitely fine motor skills. See that little powdery stuff at the end of the tool? That's exactly what I want. So it's a little tedious doing this, but it's going to save me time in sanding. So it's going to take me a handful of minutes to get this done, but you've got the idea of what I'm doing. Look how fine that is. All right, back to it. Well, we're right down to the fun stuff. I'm sanding right now, and normally I use a powered angle drill, and it died on my last project, so I'm going old school. I've got one of these gizmos, and I'll show you how it works. I'm going to put my mask back on, and it's kind of an imperfect thing, but it will get the job done. It's just slower. So I'm using 120 grit right now, and I'm just about there. And then I'm going to show you how to patch those couple of cracks that I showed you earlier. And it's a pretty cool technique. Well, we sure have an unsightly crack, but we're going to make that go away. You know, things like this add character. It doesn't give me any heartburn at all. That kind of gets my boxers bunched up. Really don't like that. So here's what we're going to do. I've got some Titebond 3 glue. That's what I use for my cutting boards. And, okay, I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of this right in the crack. And I'm going to smoosh it around just a little bit. Kind of forcing it down in there. And normally, we'd be saying, hey, we need to wait 24 hours or so before we can actually work with that. Oh, no. We're going to work with it right now. I'm going to take 240 grit, which is where I'm at right now, and I'm just going to go to town on that. So that is sanding up nicely. Okay. So the ugly gap is there, and this glue, when it dries, is going to glue or dry darker. So it's not going to be as unsightly as it was and as unsightly as it is. So I think it's going to turn out just fine. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to work up to 600 grit, and then we're going to roll into some abrasive paste. Well, if you followed me along for a while, you know that I use Skyler Ewing's abrasive paste. Love this stuff. There we go. And I'm going to apply some of this inside the bowl. It's got mineral oil, beeswax, pumice, and tripoli. And the pumice is the abrasive. Okay. And I'm trying to do this without blocking the view. Let's try it up here maybe. So basically what happens is that this abrasive breaks down as I'm working it. And when you work with it, you can actually feel it break down. It goes from having a lot of friction to not very much. And if you had to, you could do multiple coats, But I sanded it really well, so I took all those little micro marks out of the wood. That's a little challenging doing it upside down. Yeah, let me get in here and just clean it up, and I'll show you what it looks like. Look at that. Let me get you in a little closer. Isn't that pretty? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to apply the Carnauba, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Well, we are on to the final step. I'm going to apply the Carnauba wood finish and polish. It's a beautiful color, just lovely. And I'm going to apply it just like I did with the abrasive. I'm going to smear it around. If you don't, it flies off and makes kind of a mess. And I'm going to set the RPMs on the lathe up to about 1,000. And I want to generate plenty of heat. Okay. And I'm also going to stand to the side of the lathe a little bit, which is good safety practice in case this bowl comes flying off, which it shouldn't. So I'm going to go back and forth, and I want to generate heat. Well, I can, you know it's getting hot when it's hard to hold on to the rag. And I'm going to get into the skinny side of that chuck, keeping my fingers clear of that. Where I can't reach, I'm going to do that by hand after I pull it off the chuck. You can see the bowl wobbling. So I started turning this yesterday, and by the time I flipped it into the chuck, it had already moved. That's very common. Okay, with a clean cloth, I'm going to wipe this down. We're going to see a beautiful matte finish. If it was a wood like Etamo, it would be more of a glossy finish. I guess it's going to be borderline between matte and glossy. Just depends on the wood. Okay, I think we're there. Let's take a look. Wow. That is just gorgeous. Man, the colors really popped. The finish did exactly what I wanted it to do. Absolutely lovely. Super pretty. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put in that finish in the inside of the bowl, and I'll see you in a minute. Well, I just wrapped this one up, and it is pretty. Love the color. Well, if you'd like to see more bowl content, by all means, let me know in the comments. I appreciate you following along. Remember to hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you get all the notifications, and we're going to see you next time with another cool video. Have a great day.